I had a question asked to me, and it's not going to make it onto the Dancers podcast, but I thought I would answer it in this format because this format is very fun for me. I like the idea of answering a question while you're doing something else because a lot of videos are someone looking directly at you, really staring into your soul, looking directly in camera. It's too much pressure. Just know that while I'm answering this question, I'm also bettering my life. And doesn't that feel good for you, the viewer? So the question was, it's very simple, but I'm going to expound on it a little bit more than maybe you'd think. The question was, what are red flags for you in a partner? I take a bit of issue with the idea of red flag. Now, that's not to say red flags don't exist, right? Red flags are everywhere. There are certainly things that are red flags in partners where if you see someone do them, you should be like, I'm not going to interact with this person anymore, right? Let's say you're on a date and they ask the waitress, do you have a craft beer on tap? And they say no, and they punch that waiter in the face. Red flag. Red flag. 100% red flag. If let's say you're going on a date, right? You're walking down the road with someone, and there's a puddle, and they step over the puddle, and then they turn around and say, "I have committed war crimes." Red flag. Red flag. If you decide to not go on another date with that person, I can understand that. However, we've gotten to a point where people are saying things are red flags that are, not to overuse this word, but dehumanizing. I'll explain what I mean. I don't want to get too academic. People take things too seriously. I don't want to go on the other way of taking things too seriously, but I'll tell you what I mean. I saw a woman on a dating app say that it is a red flag if the person she's dating has their bed on the ground with no bed frame. I get it. I get how maybe you see that and you go, oh, well, no bed frame, that must be poor, must not have their priorities straight. I'm a grown woman. I can respect that. I can respect that being something that's a strike against someone in your mind. I'm not going to tell anyone to change or rearrange their preferences, but let me just say, there is a world in which a person, and I have a bed frame, okay? Before we come in the comments, before we go, oh, Dan, you're just saying this because you don't have a bed frame. I have a bed frame. I have one. Do not say I don't have one. Do not call me a little baby in the comments. It will hurt my feelings. There is a world in which someone does not have a bed frame and is a good person who may be the love of your life. That might be the case. But what red flags really come from, like this whole idea of, oh, red flag this, red flag that, it's this sort of automated process that we have put upon dating. We've made dating an automated process where it's like coding. It's like what you're manipulating stats. You're just looking at like different stat lines and being like, okay, well, they have this car, or with guys, it's like, okay, she has like this body and she has it together like this, and she's only had this many boyfriends before me, so that's the one. And it's like, this is not how you look at a human being. And I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but when I said the word dehumanizing, when I said like the use of red flags flippantly can be dehumanizing, I truly mean that. I mean, apart from things that people tell you that they have done in the past that are atrocious, that are egregious, I sound like an old school kind of speak 'em up. See me at a church. It's egregious. Oh, I sound like Johnny Cochran. That's what I sound. Egregious, distasteful, disrespectful, hyperbolic. Yeah, but I just rearranged my balls on camera. If I get banned for that, I get banned for that, and I'm sorry for the viewers. But it truly is it makes me very sad to see people, human beings, turn into these like red flag seeking robots where it's like, if you don't like astrology, then you cannot be boyfriend. And it's like, it takes away from the, now maybe being in comedy has opened me up more to people, because in comedy you have to deal with psychopaths all the time. It's like they're the funniest people a lot of the time, so you have to put up with them. If you want to work the road, sometimes you have to open for a crazy person, and that happens all the time. So that's not to say you have to. There's a middle ground, and this is where the conversation gets annoying to people who want me to just sit up here and be like, if you say the word red flag, you're a piece of shit. I don't believe that either. This is a middle thing. But I'm saying in the pendulum of how people view red flags, we've skewed too far into like, if you still live with your parent, where it's like, there are good people who live with their parents. There are good people who have their beds on the ground. On the other side, what I've seen a lot in online discourse, when it comes, absolutely not. Braces are not a red flag. Braces, you know what braces are? Adult braces show that you are a grown person who still believes in themselves. That's dare I say, a green flag. But on the other side, men, and this will get a lot of hate from people who are like, the body count is everything. You gotta consider a woman's body count, blah, blah, blah. If you feel that way, some bad news for you. The chances of you actually getting a accurate assessment of the amount of men a woman has slept with is probably pretty low, because you're probably a person that plans on shaming them afterwards. And when people are put in a situation where they're going to feel shamed, they generally will not give you the accurate information, right? So there's that. And then the second thing is, if that is a metric you're considering. Now remember what I said in the beginning of this discussion. If you have a preference, it can be as crazy as you want. I am a true believer in whatever you personally believe. If you're a woman and you say, I don't want to date a guy who doesn't have a bed frame, that is your prerogative. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the grand scheme of things, right? Those are the police arresting me for my radical beliefs. I'm talking about the grand scheme of things. If you're a guy and you are obsessed with the amount of people, because now I'll go the other way. I've dated people who are women who are very concerned with the amount of people I've slept with, right? And they will hem and haw if it's a number that's higher than they are comfortable with, right? So I've experienced this too. There are good people out there that had phases in their lives where they slept with a bunch of people. And if you are a person who believes that phase in your life dictates the rest of your life forever, ever, and you're stuck with it, I just don't think you're looking at people the right way. I'm not saying you're not just women. I'm saying in a grand scheme of things, I don't think you're looking at people in the right way. Because even if you do see promiscuity as a negative, and you see the fact that someone has slept with multiple people being an indicator, and I've seen like some kind of shoddy studies that have been done that might indicate that, and it's like, whatever. People aren't studies. People aren't statistics. Human beings are not statistics. You can't look at something and be like, well, if someone has had sex with this X amount of people, then they are no longer, and listen, this is coming from personal experience. I have dated people who have had sex with triple digits. I have dated people who have had sex with I was the first person they've had sex with. It does not change things. Like, they're just people. At the end of the day, everybody's just people. And by putting these metrics on shit and being like, I cannot date someone who has done it, you're not looking at people like people. You're looking at them like numbers. You're looking at them like statistics. And I think I think the less you can do that, the better. I'm assuming that whatever the comment F is a negative and you don't agree, that's fine. You cannot agree. I'm not talking about your personal preferences. If you decide that that's the metric you want to base your life on, sure. but I just feel like it's inaccurate, and that's just how it goes. So it's not a gender thing. I think red flags exist for men and women, and I think both of them, both groups, have skewed a little bit too far towards the category of I'm going to consider people to be the summation of these like weird metrics that I've put on them to decide like, well, this and this and this. And what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position where you're not dating people anymore. You are dating numbers. You are dating, well, this job means that you're good. And this job means, oh, it's going in and out and it's lagging. Sorry, nothing I can do about that. But I appreciate the note. Thank you for letting me know it's lagging. Nothing I can do about it. But, well, there's something I could do about it. I could get better Wi-Fi. I mean, there's a lot I could do about it. That's me completely giving up responsibility. There is nothing I could possibly do to make my connection better. I couldn't make a better life for myself and make better money. I could never do that. But yeah, the whole red flag culture, and also here's a real big issue with red flag culture is people aren't even making their own red flags. People are looking online and seeing what other motherfuckers are putting as red flags and going, oh, I should base my dating experience off that. And that pisses me off too. Because red flags, having a red flag and being like, oh, I don't like this in a person. Again, I understand if you have those. You're a human being if you have those. That makes sense. But to base it off of what another person is telling you, to base it off of like some dumbass podcast where it's people who are like, you can't date someone without a bed frame. If they don't have a bed frame, you don't want, if they don't have a good job and if they don't wear high heels whenever you go out, it's like, shut up. You are talking about yourself. You're taking this which is what the world is. Listen, I understand like as individuality wanes and like this sort of mass movements grow, it's like, I get it, you know, it's hard to make your own choices, and maybe it is informative to listen to people about their shit, but it's like, as a whole thing, it dehumanizes a huge group of people, and B, you're dehumanizing yourself because you're not making your own informed decisions about what people you actually want to date, about what people like, what things people do that actually annoy you. You're just going off of what other people are saying. Because we're living vicariously through most of our lives now. Most of our lives, like, I think that the advent of podcasts and hey, even this, like YouTube and shit, has sort of hurt autonomy in a way. Not in a way that's like irrevocable, not in a way that's damaging really, but I do think it is strange. And I do think we need to constantly be checking ourselves and making sure that the beliefs that we hold are actually our beliefs, and the metrics that we're judging people off of are at very least metrics that we came up with. Yeah, it's even if you believe that. Listen, I'm completely for this being a simulator. I'm totally. I agree. But you're my best friend because I don't have to talk back. And yet you do. And yet you do talk back. And that's nice. See, we can have a little rapport. That's what's great about doing a live stream with 7 people watching. We can all talk to each other. And that's cool. I like that. This is not me complaining or whatever. This is kind of nice. This is cozy. But as far as red flags go, it's just, I've heard so many standardized red flags. I'll make that a term. A standardized red flag is stupid and like minimizing. And I hear people talk about them all the time. I hear like, oh, if you don't have a good relationship with your mom, it's a red flag. It's like, maybe she was an asshole. Have you ever thought of that? In your dumb little life where you're just basing it off of something you heard on a podcast, or if they don't have a good relationship with their mom, I can't date you. It's like, get a life. experience life, get outside, realize that there's people that fall outside of these dumb little measuring sticks that you put on them that are cool and interesting. It just bums me out. It bums me out to hear people, curating their lives in this dumb way. It's like I've met so many people that have had so many red flags that turn out to be awesome. I have best friends. I was doing stand-up comedy in Boston, okay? Boston's like a kind of a grungy scene. It's like a underground scene. And I met so many people that had so many red flags. And they turned out to teach me so much. Not just that they were cool, not just that they became my friends, but they taught me so much. And they made my life better. I say as I wash dishes in my efficiency apartment in let's say not the greatest part of Hollywood. Am I doing tour dates in Ohio? I would love to. I would love to come to Ohio. I don't have anything planned right now. The next tour date I have is in beautiful San Diego. I believe it's on the 14th. But I'll post those dates. I'll get those out to you fine people. I was just down in San Diego doing shows. San Diego's the only place where they'll let me do stand-up comedy. And I'm not complaining. San Diego's great. LA, the stage time ain't great. And there's just so many people, it's hard to run a comedy show out here. For the people who do, God bless them. But boy, oh boy, I don't know how people do it. Los Angeles, California, I love it here. I love living here. It's really fun. But to do stand-up comedy, I feel like you do really need to leave the city a lot, which I'm sure it's kind of the same for New York, but not in the same way. New York comics, they just do so many more sets than we do here. And it's because there's just more availability to do those sets. Well, I'm winding down. I feel like I thoroughly went over that question. If anyone has any further questions, throw them in the chat, because I'm not done doing dishes yet, and that means that we get to have a little conversation. Isn't that exciting? We get to have a little back and forth. You get to talk to the Sink Man. Boy, I hope I never refer to myself as the Sink Man again. Although that is, as a WWE wrestler, the Sink Man would be a cool name. Where your finishing move is you just blast them through a sinkhole in the middle of the mat. I could be the Sink Man. But yeah, I've been trying to headline more. I've honestly been having huge existential crisis about, should I live here in Los Angeles because I'm not getting enough stage time and da-da-da, and it's like, hey, calm down. Oh, the new podcast is great. Colin, thank you for asking me. I have a new podcast called Basket of Cats. Me and my buddy Benton Ray actually just did a set down in San Diego, and it was really fun. And we're both comics. We both are going to try to do live shows as soon as we can. But if you guys like my stuff, please check out the Basket of Cats YouTube, because it is very fun. I enjoy doing Basket of Cats very much. Benton's just a great co-host, and we have very interesting conversations. Benton used to work on the Good For You podcast with Whitney Cummings, and now I snagged him up. I snagged Benton up. Very exciting stuff. Thank you for asking. Starting a podcast, boy, is it a lonely, lonely journey. Because there's a billion, right? So you have to, what I kind of like about it, and people are going to disagree with me in the comments. What I like about doing a podcast now, it is so oversaturated. There are so many podcasts that if you start a podcast now, it is truly because you want to. You want to have a podcast. You have fun with it. You're speaking to 8 people in a room by yourself. I like it. It's nice. It helps, you know what it does? It helps me focus my thoughts, and it helps me learn how to just keep going, how to talk, how to speak what's on my mind. Obviously, hey, listen, if you've listened to this whole thing, you understand I ain't perfect at it. It hasn't gone well, but what I've learned through doing enough of this stuff and live streams and stuff is you do get better at it. It's a skill, which is exciting. It's an exciting thing that doing something as simple as talking can become a skill that you get better at. And when I was younger, I mean, I was maybe one of the worst. I couldn't put a sentence together. That the speech impediment didn't help, right? Getting made fun of by other kids every time I open my mouth, that doesn't help. But it really does help you get on a little roll. And how nice is that? Go from being a speech impediment kid, one of those damn. Well, I didn't even have a cool. You know what's the worst? I had well, I still have it. I'm speaking in the past tense a little bit too much, but I had really bad, and now only a little bit, what's called a lateral lisp. So a lisp is when your S's become like, you kind of TH your S's. A lateral lisp is when CH sounds like garbage in your mouth. It comes out like, can you change to a light bulb? That's what I would sound like. I sounded almost exactly like that. Good days, good old days. And you know what's crazy? Kids were so nice about that. The thing is, when you don't talk or act exactly like other kids, they love it. They love when you're a little bit different. Children are the most understanding. Whenever I hear people talk about how like beautiful and intelligent and innocent, like how little kids are like so accepting, and it's like, no, they're monsters. They're truly unfettered, like Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies is the most accurate representation of children I've ever seen. It's not where the wild things go. It's not where the wild things go. It's Lord of the Flies. But you deal with it. And you know what it really helps with? When people are like, because okay. This is a shut the sink off kind of topic. And it's something I'm kind of tired of. I got into comedy. Or whatever you want to call this, like, and it's not to say that I'm nothing. I have nothing in it. It's whatever. But even to the small degree that I do videos like this, you're gonna get negativity, right? People, you can look at my shorts and stuff where actually more people see it who aren't following me, and people are kind of mean. It's like this guy, beta male, whatever, da 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 da. And people will see that and go like, they shouldn't be saying that about you. And it's like, hey, I don't treat other comics like this, but I'm just speaking for myself. I didn't get into comedy to have everyone be super nice to me all the time. That's how this works. Part of, whether you like it or not, part of being in comedy is having people be, like when you get off stage, people think they can joke around with you, and that requires them to be a little bit mean to you. Like that, they're just gonna be a little bit mean to you. I'm fine with it. I don't know why people are so like uptight about that. It's like, that's why I kind of got in the game, is because comedy is something that can open you up to people being a little rude, and that's kind of the environment I grew up in. I didn't grow up in an environment where everybody was nice to each other. That's not where I feel comfortable. I feel way more comfortable in a situation where you can kind of have a little back and forth with someone, where people can be a little rude. So when I see those comments online, it's like, yeah, that's the internet has never been a nice place. I'm not saying that there aren't pockets of the internet that are nice. I'm not saying I don't super appreciate when people are nice to me in the comments. I love that too, but I like it all. When people are like mean and disparaging and rude in the comments, it's like, yeah, they're just talking. It's like, you're not doing anything to me. You're just saying you don't like whatever I'm putting out. I like when people have an opinion on what I'm doing. It is nice. That doesn't mean like, I'm going to get, whatever, hate comments on this. And that's fine. I don't, it is what it is. But yeah, sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent. I was just thinking about that at the end of my show. A guy came up and started like making fun of me. And then the host of the show was like, I can't believe that guy was so rude. And I'm like, he wasn't rude. He was just, he just thinks that's how you talk to somebody after they get off stage. And it's like a discomfort thing too. Would you feel good if I said this sucks? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, honestly, I like that. I would feel good if you said it sucked. You know what? It's like one of those things where it's like the opposite of of love isn't hate, it's indifference. I really believe that. If you think it sucks, I suggest you stop watching it. I mean, that's my real advice to you. But in the short term, it's like, yeah, hate it. I put out videos that people have despised. I've been blocked for it. They've unfollowed me and stuff. It's like, that's all part of it. You can't have any sort of an output of material without people disliking it. Yeah, I clean the, and listen, I know recycling is a myth. People have told me that recycling doesn't exist. If any piece of the recycling I put in makes its way to some sort of a reuse station or whatever, I'd happily do that. And I do pee into a bucket. You know, I recently, this is a gross story. Hey, you ready for a gross story? I had to, I was on my way, I was doing a road gig, and I peed in a bottle, which happens a lot when you can't find a bathroom. A couple days later, it was a glass bottle with a green tinge. A little thirsty, saw the bottle, forgot I peed in it, took a little swig. And for about 20 minutes, I was sure I was gonna die. I was positive it would result in my untimely, and I was like, what a way to go. Sepsis from drinking your own piss. And then I thought about it and I was like, that's probably how Howard Hughes went. Listen, this isn't where you come to get nice manicured, curated stories, okay? If you want that, go follow Harry Styles, okay? Who's not, I don't know anything about Harry. I assume he's maybe a little bit more diligent about the things he says than I am. Okay? But I'm not that. I'll tell you, when I drink piss by accident, you're going to know first. That's the Dan Donahue guarantee. Oh, what's up, Sam? Oh, right, LA Comedy Life. If you're watching this, follow LA Comedy Life. It's run by a beautiful, stunning princess. That's how I see you, Sam. I see you as a beautiful, stunning princess. Anyway, if anyone has any more questions, please throw them in the chat. Please ask me if I've ever knife fought. Ask me if I've ever taken the ring in what we call a pointy exchange. Okay? Ask me if I've ever gone toe to toe with people in the knife fighting arenas of Anaheim, California, of Fresno, California, of Stockton, California. Okay? The answer is no. But hey, you never know what you're going to get into when you're 50. I could be a knife fighter guy. That must exist, right? That's going to be the new UFC, is just knife fighting. Bro, you gotta watch knife fighting. Have you ever been in a fight with a melee weapon? What's a melee weapon? Would that be like a ball with or like a chain with a ball at the end of it and spikes? If so, no, but if anyone knows where I could get into that, sign me up. Sign me up. I want to be in the cage like that. I would love to be a warrior of the mason ball and pointy thing. Thoughts on Mark Norman? Very funny. Very, very funny. Crazy amount of output. I do not know how Mark Norman writes the amount of jokes that Mark Norman writes, but it's crazy. Oh, any non-projectile weapon. You know what? I respect that. I feel like a projectile weapon is for cowards. I feel like that's a hot take from a guy in like the year 1200. It's just like, yeah, see these feminized males are using projectile weapons, okay? And they're ruining, and they're putting lead in the water supply, which they actually were back then. I'll be in the pits. Hey, find me some of the pits. Get me to the pits. That's what I say. All All right, folks. Well, I'm going to sign off. Please check out the Dancers podcast. It's on my channel. If you want to see my other podcast, check out Basket of Cats. Are there more fights after comedy shows on the East Coast or West Coast? I have not seen a lot of fights after comedy shows. Oh, I did actually see one in Boston, so I'll say Boston by one. Two guys fought in the snow. It was a real meeting of the minds. It was actually kind of beautiful. Guy said something that a guy in the audience didn't like, and then afterwards they both went outside, and the comedian won. For once, the comedian won. It was very interesting to see. All right, folks. Well, check out the podcast. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.